Today, we'll be exploring some non-calculator questions across the Year 10 curriculum for the higher paper in preparation for the mock exams. I am super excited. I hope you are too. So, let's go. Welcome to this Year 10 revision walkthrough. Non-calculator papers can be challenging for lots of students. So the aim of this revision session is to sharpen your mental skills while building your confidence before you sit those exams. I encourage you to download the worksheet that can be found in the video description and work along with me, as this will help you to retain what we have practiced today. So, without any further delays, let's begin. So let's have a look at our first question. So we're going to start off with standard form. So we're asked here in part A to write 9.61 times 10 to the power of 6 as an ordinary number. So first of all, we know when we are multiplying, we are moving to the right. So I'm just going to rewrite this, 9.61, and we are multiplying by 10 to the power of 6. So therefore, we're going to be moving 6 places to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we just put our zeros here. So you can see here, because we had 2 decimal places, moving 6 places to the right will leave us with 4 zeros in our answer. So 9, 6, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you count those zeros. It's very easy to leave off or add on too many zeros. So that's our answer. We tick that off for 1 mark. For the next question, we're asked to write the number 0.62 in standard form. We know numbers written in standard form will always be in the form a times 10 to the power of n, where a has to be from 1 to less than 10. Cannot be a double-digit number. Neither can it be less than 1. So we cannot have 0 point something, not at all. So therefore, we think about where do we want the decimal to be. So 0.62, we want our decimal to be here. So we're moving 1 place to the right. Remember, once we move 1 place to the right, the number is going to be a negative index. So the answer is 6.2 times 10 to the power of minus 1. Remember, you can always check by going 1 place backwards to get back the original number as well. So another 1 mark there. Next question asks us to write 8 times 10 to the power of minus 2 as an ordinary number. This means we want to know what decimal did we have that when we converted to standard form, the result was 8 times 10 to the power of minus 2. So we simply need to just go 2 places to the left. So 1, 2, and then our decimal point will now be here. So we fill our places with 0. So the ordinary number was 0.08 for 1 mark. Part B of the next section asks us to write the number 770,000 in standard form. So again, I asked myself, where should my decimal be for this to be a standard form number? So therefore, my number has to be between the 2 sevens. So we go from the back of the number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So therefore, we know it's going to be 7.7 times 10 to the power of 5, and that's because we had to move 5 spaces to get our number to be an acceptable standard form number. So if you see these questions and you've done this, you would have scored your first 4 marks on your paper. Beautiful. So we carry on. So the next question comes to us from solving linear equations. So we're asked here to solve 3x plus 15 equals 6. We know we need to think about it in a clear, logical way. And under pressure, guys, it's really easy to mess up the simplest of questions. So we take our time. So in this question, we're going to, let me just rewrite my question here. So 3x add 15 is equal to 6. I'm going to write the operations I've got in the question. So what I have and what I need to do. Remember, we always do the inverse of our operation. So we have a plus 15. And we always take care of our constant first. 15 is our constant here. So we're going to need to subtract 15. And also we have a multiplication by 3. So we're going to need to divide by 3. The order doesn't matter. So we must do our constant first, which we can think about as the one that's furthest away from x. So we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. This leaves us with 3x on the left hand side equal to 6 take away 15, that's minus 9. Remember, very easy to confuse this. Remember, you're taking a large number from a small number, so you must end with a negative. So I'm going to check that off. I have done my subtraction of 15. Now we need to divide both sides by 3. So therefore, we're left with x on the right hand side. We also have that on the answer line already. I'm just writing my own. So minus 9 divided by 3 is minus 3, and that's for 2 marks. We then move on to the next question, which asks us to solve 2y plus 20 equals 12. The same principle applies, so I'm just going to rewrite my question here. And that's equal to 12, please. Some of you, I know, will be tempted to just think this all in your head. Remember, you've got to think and also ink so that you can score the marks. So I'm going to write what I have in the question and also what I need to do. So I have a positive 20. I'm going to need to subtract 20. I have a multiplication by 2. So I'm going to need to divide by 2. So minus 20 first on both sides. I get 2y equal to 12 take away 20, which gives me minus 8. Remember, keep your sign. So we then tick that off. I now need to divide by 2 on both sides. So we've got y left on this side equal to minus 8 divided by 2 is minus 4. So I can just add that to my answer line. Nice and calm, easy, 2 markers there. So we go back, and also you have got time, make sure that you check that your answer is correct as well. So for example, just go ahead, substitute minus 3 here. So 3 times minus 3 gets me minus 9 plus 15, and I can see that that answer is indeed 6, so I know I'm correct. Beautiful. So we go on to solving some equations that now involves brackets. 2 ways to navigate this question. First of all, I can expand my bracket, or I could do 66 divided by 11 first, and then the answer, I make that equal to g plus 7. But I'm just going to choose the route of expanding my bracket. So 11 bracket g add 7 equal to 66. So 11 times by g gives me 11g. And 11 times by positive 7 gives me positive 77, and that's equal to 66. So now I'm going to write what I've got in the question, what I have, what I need to do. I have a plus 77, and I'm going to need to subtract 77. And I have multiplication by 11. I'm going to need to divide by 11. Can hear my voice a little bit raspy, kind of under the weather. But one thing I know that I teach you guys is persistence. Even though we're not well, we've got a job to do. We just got to rise up to the occasion. So I must press on. So I'm going to be subtracting 77 from both sides. So I've got 11g is equal to 66 take away 77 is going to be minus 11. We then check that off. I now need to divide by 11 on both sides. So therefore, G then has to be minus 11 divided by 11 is minus 1. Nice and smooth, 2 marker there. I then move on to the next question, where we're told that 21 is equal to 3 bracket h minus 1, and we're asked to solve. So like I always do, I'm going to rewrite my question. So h minus 1. So I'm going to expand my bracket. So 3 times h is 3h, and 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. And that's equal to 21. So I'm going to write what I have and what I need to do. So I have a minus 3 and I need to add 3. I have a multiplication by 3. I will need to divide by 3. So we go ahead, take care for a constant first. So add 3 to both sides. 21 plus 3 gives me 24. And this will leave me with 3h. Check that off. I now need to divide by 3 on both sides. So we get h on the right hand side. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So h then is equal to 8. We check that off. Next one we need to do is 5p. So I'm just going to rewrite that here in this nice space. So 5 bracket p add 2 plus 2p is equal to 38. So we know we need to follow the order of operation. So I've got to do my brackets first. So 5 times p is 5p. 5 times 2 is 10. And then I need to integrate that with my 2p on the outside equal to 38. We need to collect our like terms here. So this gives me 7p add 10 equal to 38. Then what I have, I've got a plus 10, so I'm going to minus 10 from both sides. So 7p is equal to 38 minus 10 is 28. Then I need to divide by 7 on both sides. So p therefore is equal to 28 divided by 7 is 4. So p then is equal to 4. We can see the progression there. That's 3 marks. Now I know by now some people may say these questions seem very simple. It's a paper 1. Always start off nice smooth progression. Do not lose momentum in watching this video, because we're going to get into more complex questions. I'm just progressing based on how your exam will project the questions as well. So moving on to some indices. So first question here, we're asked to simplify 5 to the power of 4, and that's also raised to the power of 2. So this is the power to power rule. Many students mess up this 1 marker. Remember, when we've got a power raised to another power, we should multiply. But if you tend to forget that rule, just simply write it out. So this means we are squaring 5 to the power of 4. So we can write 5 to the power of 4 times 5 to the power of 4. It's now clearer to see that we're just simply adding the powers here. So that gets us to 5 to the power of 4 plus 4 is 8. You can see here, if we'd apply the power to power rule, straight away 4 times 2 gets us to 8. 1 mark question. We circle our answer. Next question asks us to circle the volume in centimeter cube of a cylinder. So I underline my key facts here, with a radius of 5 and a height of 8. So do not just think it in your head, ink it as well. So we know the volume of any prism at all is always equal to the area of the cross section multiplied by the length or depth. So the area of the cross section of your cylinder will be a circle, which is pi r squared for the area. We then need to multiply that by the height. So It's a calculator paper. You would have put this in your calculator. However, this is your non-calculator paper, so your answer will be represented in terms of pi. So we go ahead and we substitute. So we've got pi times by our radius given here is 5. So we substitute r for 5 squared times by the height given is 8. So we go ahead, 5 times 5 is 25, and then we need to multiply 25 by 8. I'm not on a calculator paper. Put in your calculator. On a non-calculator paper, please set up your column method and do the multiplication. So I'm just going to do it here. 25 times by 8. 8 times 5 is 40. I put my 4 over. 8 times by 2 is 16 plus 4, that's 20. So 200 times pi gives me 200 pi. Make sure that you work it out, guys. Easy to make a mental error. So our answer is 200 pi. Beautiful. Still in nice and safe waters here. So we carry on with our indices now, but we're looking at fractional powers, which lots of people tend to forget. So the first question here asks me to write down the value of 4 to the power of 3 halves. Now, first thing we need to remember here is the laws of indices indicates that the denominator of the fraction tells me my root, write that down, and the numerator tells us our power. So therefore, we are asked here to do the square root of 4, and when we get our answer, we should cube it. So the square root of 4 is 2, and we need to cube 2, and the cube of 2 means 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to give us 8. So we put that on our answer line. So the answer is 8. Now for part B, the same principle applies. We're given 64 raised to a power of 2/3. So this means that we need to cube root 64. Remember, that's our root. And then we need to square the answer. So the cube root of 64 is 4, since 4 times 4 times 4 makes 64. We then need to square that answer. So 4 squared gives us 16. Beautiful. So the answer then is 16. For the next question, we're asked now to do 16 to the power of 3/4. So remember, we are now going to be doing the 4th root of 16. So key indices concepts here that we have to remember. Then when we get our answer, we are going to cube that. So the 4th root of 16 means what number do I need to multiply by itself 4 times to get to 16? And the answer is 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 gets me to 16. I then need to cube my answer, which happens to be what I did in the first question. So 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2 gets me to 8. So the answer here is also 8. Beautiful. Next question asks me to write down the value of 1000 to the power of 5/3. So again, I'm doing the cube root of 1000. And when I get my answer, I should raise that to the power of 5. So the cube root of 1000 is 10. I now need to do 10 to the power of 5, which indicates I will have 5 zeros on my answer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get 100,000. We put that on our answer line. Make sure you write the correct thing on your answer line. It is indeed the most important line on your exam. So, last question in that section, we are doing 25 to the power of 3/2. So we're doing the square root of 25. When we get our answer, we should cube that. So the square root of 25 is 5. And then 5 to the power of 3 means 5 times 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. and 25 times 5 gives us 125. Beautiful fractional indices revision there. So we are going to be moving along. Now guys, remember, just before we move along, if it is that you had a negative index, so what if it is that you had, I'll just do that here, put an asterisk there. What if this was 4 to the power of -3/2? This just indicates, remember, common mistake here is to believe that the minus power has to do anything at all with negative numbers. No, it has nothing to do with negative numbers. This indicates we've got a fraction. So it would have been 1 over the positive of what you just wrote at the top. So it's 1 over the square root of 4 raised to the power of 3. So the answer would be the reciprocal of what we had in the positive. So the answer would have been 1/8. So remember, a negative power indicates a reciprocal. It's 1 over the positives that we just explored. Please do not make that mistake to think it's a negative number. It's a fraction. Awesome. So we go ahead to do some involving fractions now. So we are asked here to work out the value of 4/25 raised to the power of 3/2. Same principle applies as to what we just did. It's just that we need to work out each part of the fraction separately using the indices that we are given. So for the first one, I need to remember, denominator tells me my root and numerator my power. So even though I have a fraction, I still apply the principles. So I need to do the square root of 4. Then I need to cube that answer. However, I need to divide that by the denominator of the fraction, but I must apply the rules for that part as well. So I'm also doing the square root of 25, and then I need to cube that answer. So the square root of 4 is 2, and 2 cubed is, I'm just going to write it out for the one student who needs to see this. So the square root of 4 is 2, and then I need to cube that, divided by the square root of 25, which is 5, and I also need to cube that. So cube of 2 is 8, and the cube of 5 is 125. So therefore, the total answer as a fraction is 8/125. We go ahead to do the next one. Remember, 1/3 power is the same as cube root. The fractional powers are indicative of certain roots. So here we're asked to work out the value of 8/125 raised to the power of 1/3. It simply indicates here I need to cube root my numerator and also cube root my denominator. So the cube root of 8 divided by the cube root of 125. Cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of 125 is 5. So the answer then is 2/5. We go ahead, we apply the same principle to part C. We've got 8/27 raised to the power of 2/3. It means I am doing the third root of 8. When I get my answer, I should square that, divided by also the third root of 27. When I get my answer, I should square that. So the cube root of 8 is 2, so we need to square that 2, which gets us 4. Notice I put arrows instead of equal sign. It's not mathematically correct to have two equal signs in the same sum. So therefore, I need to cube root 27, which is 3. I then need to raise that to the power of 2, which gets me 9. So the final answer is 4/9. You take your time and you break it apart, apply the principles, you will get to your destination safely. Absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to do another set of indices questions, but now we've got brackets and also coefficients, and we've got different variables now being raised to different powers on the outside of the bracket. Again, we take our time and we apply principles. So here, very importantly, we're asked to simplify 49 x to the power of 8, y to the power of 10, and all of that is now being raised to the power of a half. Very important note here is to understand that everything inside the bracket is being raised to the power of a half. However, we need to remember that a half means square root. So in essence, we are square rooting 49, and then we're going to apply the power to power rule to the indices of x and y. So we take it one step at a time. I first of all need to do the square root of 49. Square root of 49 is 7. So we've finished with the numerical factor. We then go on to focus on the literal factors, which is x and y. So what I need to do here, I've got x to the power of 8, and that's been raised to a half. So remember, we need to multiply the powers. So I need to multiply 8 by a half, which is the same as doing 8 divided by 2. So for my x term, I get 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that x to the power of 4. Just breaking it apart, and then we put it back all together for the final answer. So now I need to do y to the power of 10, and that's been raised to the power of a half, indicating I'm multiplying 10 by a half, which is the same as 10 divided by 2. So for the y variable, I get y to the power of 5. We then need to just combine them all to make the final answer. So the answer is 7 x to the power of 4, y to the power of 5. Beautiful, clear, simple, logical, step-by-step approach to this question. So now that we've done that, we can now go ahead and apply to the last two indices questions on this section. So again, we have simplify 6 to 4, x to the power of 9, y to the power of 30, all of that now raised to the power of a third. Very important here to remember, 1/3 is the same as the cube root. So in essence, I'm doing the cube root of 64, which gets me 4. Then I need to do x to the power of 9, and that's being multiplied by power of 1/3. So 9 times 1/3 is the same as 9 divided by 3. So for x, I get 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that's x to the power of 3. I go on to focus on y to the power of 30 to the power of a third. So 30 multiplied by 1/3 is the same as 30 divided by 3, which is 10. So I get y to the power of 10. Now that I've done it all, put it all together on my answer line, it's 4x cubed y to the power of 10. Beautiful. Last question on this section. I'm here given 125 x to the power of 3, y to the power of 12, but now raised to the power of 2/3. I have to now remember here that my root, my denominator is my root, and my numerator tells me my power. So therefore, for the numerical factor, I am doing the cube root of 125. When I get my answer, I should square it. With this little 2 here, numerator telling me to square it. So let's do that. Cube root of 125 is 5, and I need to square 5. 5 times 5 gets me 25. Then I need to focus on my x cubed. So x cubed is being raised also to the power of 2/3. So I need to do 3 times by 2/3. I can divide by 3 here, so I'm left with just x to the power of 2. So 3 times by 2/3, I can Cancel that out, leave me with 2, just in case you missed how I got that 2. Final step, I need to do y to the power of 12, and then I need to raise that to 2/3. So essentially, I'm doing 12 times by 2/3. 3 into itself goes once, and into 12 goes 4. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. So I get y to the power of 8. Putting it all together, I get 25x squared y to the power of 8. And that's my final answer. Absolutely fantastic. Liking this video will help this channel to grow. So please go ahead and give this video a like. So we move on to the quadratic graph. Here is the graph of y equal x squared minus 4x plus 3 for values of x from -1 to 5. Write down the roots of x squared minus 4x plus 3 equal 0 for 2 marks. So remember, when we talk about the roots of a quadratic, we're talking about the solution. Now from the graph, we can find this where the parabola, that is the curve, so where the parabola intersects with the x-axis. And then all we need to do is to just read the x-coordinates and write them down. So the intersection happens here, first point, and also second point at 3. So therefore the answer is x equal 1 and x equal 3. So this is what you get when you also solve your quadratic by factorization, and this is what it looks like from the graph. So we move on to the next question, part B. Part B asks us to write down the coordinates of the turning point of the graph y equal x squared minus 4x add 3. So the turning point is simply where the parabola stops going down and then starts going up. So if we look here, we can see dead on at 2 minus 1 is exactly where a graph begins to turn. So the answer is 2 minus 1, and that's for 1 mark. We then move on to expansion of triple brackets. So I've got here expand and simplify x add 3, x add 4, x plus 6. So what we're going to do is to expand 2 brackets first, and then when we get our answer, we'll use it to expand the third bracket. So x add 3, x add 4. So we go ahead and we do x times x, which is x squared. X times by 4 is 4x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times by 4 is 12. So we're just going to simplify that. So we get x squared. The b term simplifies. The 4 add 3 is 7. So that's 7x add 12. All we need to do now is to use the third bracket to expand our answer. So I'm just going to rewrite x add 6, and then we need to do x squared plus 7x plus 12. So we're now going to expand the bracket. So a good idea is to use x to expand all 3 terms in the bracket, and then after using 6. So x times by x squared is x cubed. X times by 7x is 7x squared. X times by 12 is 12x. We then go on to use the 6 to expand the bracket. So 6 times x squared is 6x squared. 6 times by 7x is equal to 42x. 6 times by 12 is equal to 72. So now we need to collect our like terms. So for our x cubed, there is no other value that adds to that. So x cubed, we now look for our square. So we've got 7x squared and 6x squared. 6 add 7 is 13. So that's 13x squared. Plus we've got For the x terms, 42 plus 12, so we've got 12x and 42. 12 plus 42 is 54, so that's 54x. And then we've got 72 for our constant. So the final answer is x cubed plus 13x squared plus 54x add 72, and we would have gotten 3 marks for that question. We then move on to another question where we are asked to show that 5x plus 1 multiplied by x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 2 minus x plus 2 squared can be written in the form ax cubed plus bx plus c plus d, where a, b, c, and d are all integers. And this question is valued at 6 marks. So what we're going to do is go ahead and expand all our brackets, and then we do our subtraction and simplify our answer. So I'm going to take the first pair. So 5x add 1 and x minus 3. I'm just going to put a tick there so I give myself a focus that I'm using those two. So 5x times by x, that's 5x squared. 5x times minus 3 is minus 15x. 1 times x gives us x, and 1 times minus 3 is minus 3. We now need to simplify that. So for that bit, we get 5x squared. In the middle, we have minus 15x plus x, that's minus 14x minus 3. So we are now going to use the value that we have, the third bracket, to expand this one. So we got x minus 2, and then I'm going to expand it with x 5x squared minus 14x minus 3. So we go ahead and we use x to expand the bracket. So we get x times by 5x squared, which is 5x cubed. Then x times by minus 14x is minus 14x squared. Then we need to do x times by minus 3, which is minus 3x. We're finished using x now, so now we need to use the minus 2 to expand the bracket. Minus 2 times 5x squared is minus 10x squared. Minus 2 times minus 14x is positive 28x. Then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 6. Now we're going to just simplify that, and then we're going to focus on the other bracket. So to simplify this, there's nothing else to do with 5x cubed. So I'm going to look at my x squared. So I've got minus 14x and minus 10x. So that's minus 24x squared. Finish with our squares. We then go on to 28x and minus 3. So 28 minus 3 is positive 25, and our variable is x. And then we look for our numbers. There is nothing else to add with 6, so that's our final answer for that expansion. I now need to go ahead and focus on x add 2, and I'm expanding that by itself. And then please remember, there is a minus outside the bracket. When we're finished, we're going to use that minus to expand our answer. So x times x gives me x squared. X times by 2 gives me 2x. And then 2 times x is also 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. To simplify this, I will do x squared. I'm now going to add 2, which is 4. So that's 4x add 4. Now here is where I have to remember to use the negative on the outside of this bracket to expand the bracket. So negative times x squared is negative x squared. Negative times 4x is negative 4x, and negative times 4 is negative 4. Now that I've got that, I'm just going to simplify by combining both of them together. So I'm going to just write and put them in their pairs. So I've got 5x cubed, nothing else will go with that one. Then I've got minus 24x squared. I also have minus x squared here, so collecting them as I go. Then I've got positive 25x, and I have minus 4x, and then we've got positive 6 and minus 4. So now we're going to simplify to get our final answer. So our answer will be 5x cubed. We've got minus 24x squared and a minus x squared, which is minus 25x squared. Then we've got 25x minus 4x. 25 take away 4 is 21. So this will be 21x. And then 6 take away 4. That gives us positive 2. So you will see why that is all of 6 marks. Lots and lots of steps that we have taken there. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next question, which is on trigonometry. Beautiful. We know that once we're preparing for a non-calculator paper, we must know the exact trig values, because we will not be allowed to use our calculator, as we know. So we're asked to write down the value of sine 30 for our first question. Now I'm just going to review with you the triangles you need to know. Once you know these triangles, you can write down any one of your trig ratios. So let's look at the first triangle. The first triangle gets us our 45s. So we've got an isosceles triangle with the two shorter sides being 1 and the hypotenuse being root 2. The two angles here, because it's isosceles, clearly it will be 45. So from this triangle, once you memorize this triangle, first thing you do, you go into your exam, you write these triangles down because you're going to use them. So the other triangle we need is the one that gets us the 60 degrees and also the 30 degrees. So we've got 1, hypotenuse 2, and the other side root 3. We've got 60 and 30. Clearly this angle will be 90 degrees. Now once we know these, we will be okay. In a minute I'll talk to you about easy way to remember these 0 angles for cos, tan, and sine. So first one we're asked to do is to write down sine 30. So we need the triangle that has 30 degrees. So I know, let's just write down our ratios here. So toa. So I know sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So I go to my angle of 30 degrees. I identify my opposite side. So facing this angle is 1. So the opposite side is 1. And the hypotenuse for h is 2. So therefore, sine 30 is a half. I write that down. I tick that off. Now I'm asked to do cos 0, which brings me to these ones here. So cos 0 is 1. The other two for tan and sine are 0. The way that you can remember this, remember, start with cos and just think of 100. 1, 0, 0. So once you get that cos 0 is 1, the other two are 0. So think about 100, starting with cos at the top. So cos 0 is 1. Write my answer down. Then I'm asked to find the value of tan 45. So I need to go to the triangle that has 45 degrees. And it does not matter which one of the 45s we use, since there are 2 and the triangle is isosceles. So I know tan is equal to the opposite. I'm just going to write that down. The opposite over the adjacent. So I'm going to go to my 45 degrees. Opposite is this side and the adjacent is here. So tan 45 will be 1 divided by 1, which is still 1. So tan 45 is 1. Now we go to write down the value of sine 60. So we go to our 60 degrees. We know that we need the triangle that has 60. Again, sine we know is our opposite divided by our hypotenuse. So I'm going to go to 60 degrees, identify the opposite, which is this side. I write my root 3 here. And the hypotenuse is this side, which is equal to 2. So sine 60 is root 3 divided by 2. Now I need to write down what is the value of cos 30. So I need the triangle with 30 degrees, which is the one we just used. So we know that cos is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So we write that down. So adjacent from 30 is root 3. So that's our adjacent side from 30. So root 3, and our hypotenuse is 2. So therefore, sine 60 and cos 30 is the same. And there you have it. So once we have those two triangles, we have zero issues to write down our ratios. And also, we're going to now look at when we are given the right angle triangle and asked to find an unknown side or angle using these exact trig values. So, first question here says use trigonometry to work out the value of x. So we know the first thing we always do when we're going to find an unknown side of a triangle is to start labeling the sides so we know which ratio we should use. So I'm going to stand at the 30 degrees. Opposite to 30 is the opposite side. And then we've got opposite to the right angle, longest side is my hypotenuse. So I've got O and H. So I know for sure SOH, so that's so I am using the sine ratio. So I'm going to go ahead, visualize my triangles because I'm going to need my exact trig value. So you have written this down already. Clearly, you have them to refer to on your paper. So I'm just going to set up my equation now. I know I'm using sine. So sine 30 is equal to my opposite side, which is x, divided by my hypotenuse, which is 8. Clearly, I now need to go to my triangle to remind myself of what is sine 30, and then I'm going to replace sine 30 with that value. So we go to 30. I need sine, which is the opposite side. So opposite, let's just label that. And the hypotenuse is 2. So I'm going to replace my sine 30 with the value. So opposite is 1 and the hypotenuse is 2. So sine 30 is a half. So we then replace this. A half is equal to x over 8. So I'm going to just cross multiply. 2 times x gives me 2x and 1 times 8 gives me 8. I then need to just divide by 2 to find the value of x. So therefore, x then is equal to 8 divided by 2. That is equal to 4 centimeters. Check that off. That's for 2 marks. Most questions though, this one would have been 3 marks. Now I go to the next question that asks me to use trigonometry to work out the value of x. We do same as we've done before. So I'm going to go to 60 degrees. I realize I do not have any business at all with the opposite side. So the opposite is ruled out. This is my hypotenuse, the longest side. Opposite ruled out. That means this side is my adjacent. So I need AH, so that's cos. So let's just write the other one. So it's so katoa. So I need cos. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up my equation. So cos 60 is equal to the adjacent side, which is 40, divided by the hypotenuse, which is x. So I need my triangle with 60 degrees. I'm going to now go to 60 and I'm going to identify my adjacent. So this side is my adjacent side and my hypotenuse is already labeled here. So cos 60 is equal to adjacent, which is 1, over hypotenuse, which is 2. So cos 60 is a half. So I'm just going to replace my 40 and my x. So I need to cross multiply. 1 times x gives me x, and that's equal to 40 times 2, which is 80. So the answer then is 80 centimeters. Beautiful. Now guys, it's very important that we know our trigonometric ratios. It is at this point I want to make you remind you that I do have a lesson on trigonometry where you can go and practice. I also have where we have done bearings with trigonometry. Just in case that comes up, I encourage you to make sure that you go ahead and watch those 2 videos. That will strengthen your understanding of these trig ratios. So we move on to another question where we are now given our side. Instead of being given just a number, we are given a surd. We're asked to use trigonometry to work out the value of x. So same principle apply, just that we are given a surd here, and for the next question, this time we're asked to work out an unknown angle. So we go to our diagram and we're going to label our sides. So opposite 230, so this is our opposite side, and we have our adjacent here. So we have OA, so that is TOA, so that's the tan ratio. So we need the tan of 30. We visualize our triangle with the 30 degrees. So I'm going to go to 30. I know tan, so let's just write tan 30 is equal to, it's the opposite, which is root 3 over the adjacent, which is x. So we need our opposite side from 30, which is 1, and our adjacent side is root 3. So tan 30 is 1 divided by root 3. We replace tan 30 with that value and make it equal to root 3 over x. Like we've done before, we're just going to cross multiply. So 1 times x gives us x, and root 3 times root 3 is root 9. Let me just write that first. But the square root of 9 is 3. So x is equal to 3. I'm just going to leave it as 3 as there was no unit given. So we could just say 3 units. We go to the last question here, where we're asked to use trigonometry to work out the size of an angle this time. Okay, same principle, however, applies. So we've got standing at x, root 3 is our opposite side, and we've got 1, which is our adjacent side. Just get back my pen in focus. So it's our adjacent side. So let's just label tan. So we're using tan again because we've got OA. So tan x is equal to our opposite side, which is root 3, divided by our adjacent side, which is 1. So we need to go to our triangle and see which value of tan gives us root 3 over 1, or which angle of tan gives us root 3 over 1. So we've got root 3 here and we've got 1 here. Remember, tan is the opposite divided by the adjacent. So we want root 3 to be on top. So if I look here, I can see opposite to 60 degrees. This is my opposite side, and I've got over 1. So therefore, it is tan 60 degrees. That's equal to root 3 over 1. Therefore, x is equal to 60 degrees. So let's do that again. Tan x is equal to root 3 over 1. I want to find out which angle of tan gives me root 3 over 1. I know my opposite divided by my adjacent is my tan ratio. So I can see here the only place I could go to get root 3 to be the opposite is at 60 degrees, and my adjacent is 1. So it's tan 60 that gets me to root 3 over 1. Therefore, x is equal to 60 degrees. Final question now on trigonometry, where we are asked to say, is this triangle that we're given a right angle triangle? How do we prove if this triangle is right angled? Now, if I look here, I can see the angle I'm given is 60 degrees. Now, we are to tick one box, but we have to show working to support our answer. Now, if I know anything about a right angle triangle, I know that when I'm given an angle, it should hold through with my trigonometric ratio. So I'm given 60 degrees. Let's look at the side we've got. We've got 34, 17, so opposite, and we've got the hypotenuse. So let's go ahead and reflect on what is OH, which is sine. So what is sine 60 as an exact value? And see if this holds true on this particular triangle. So putting our triangle in, we're going to write down what is sine 60. So sine 60 is equal to the opposite side. So just label that. So opposite, and our hypotenuse is 2. So sine 60 is root 3 over 2. So if this triangle is right angled, when we find sine 60 with the sides that we're given, we should get root 3. If we do not get root 3, then this is not a right angled triangle. So from 60 degrees, so let's find it from here, what this says. So sine 60, the opposite is 17, and the hypotenuse is 34. So let's simplify that. 17 into itself goes once, into 34 goes 2. So on this triangle, sine 60 is proven to be a half. So therefore, the answer is no. So we're going to say no, because sine 60 is equal to root 3, but on the diagram, it is 1/2, and that's not true. Very good. So that's how you prove. Now, if it was Pythagoras' theorem, to prove a right angle is a triangle is right angled, a squared plus b squared should be equal to c squared. So that's the same thing you would have done. You would have taken a and b and square them and see if it holds true for c squared. If not, then clearly what you would need to do is just to say, since a squared added to b squared doesn't equal to c squared, then the answer to that question would be it is not a right angled triangle. Absolutely brilliant. So in this question, we're asked to show that the following is an integer, and you must show your working. So we have 4 cos 60 times sine cos 60 times 2 tan 30. So what we need to do is to write down the values. So let's go ahead, write down the values of cos 60. We're going to need the value of sine 60, the value of tan 30, and then we're going to substitute them and simplify. So cos 60 is equal to a half, sine 60 is equal to root 3 over 2, and tan 30 is equal to root 3 over 3 when it is rationalized. Now that we've got them all, we're now going to substitute them in the question. So I've got 4 times by cos 60, which is a half, so I'm going to substitute cos 60 for a half, times by sine 60, which is root 3 over 2, times by 2 tan 30, so we need to do 2 times by tan 30, which is root 3 over 3. Now all we need to do is to simplify. So I'm going to take one step at a time. So half 4 is 2. Then I'm going to do root 3 times root 3, which is 3, and then 3 times 2 gives me 6, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So if we do this now, we could just simplify by dividing by 1. So therefore we get 2 over 2. So the final answer is 2. So you know your exact trig values. You just substitute them, write down their values and substitute them in the question and simplify. And there you have it. Looks complicated, but clearly it is not. So we move on to our next question, which is factorizing. So we're going to factorize 2 quadratics. One of them coefficient is 1, the other one coefficient is greater than 1. Also, I do have factorization of quadratics on the channel, so you can go ahead and do some more practice on this if you're not good at factorization. So first of all, I'm looking at my c term. When the coefficient is 1, I can just focus on my c term. So c is equal to minus 12. I need 2 factors of minus 12 that add to minus 1. So therefore, 2 factors of 12 that are 1 apart, and then we figure which one should be negative, which one should be positive. So the 2 factors are 3 and 4. So we need them to be minus 1 when we add them. So clearly the 4 has to be negative. So we check 3 times minus 4 is minus 12, but 3 plus minus 4 is minus 1. So my two brackets will then be x plus 3 and x minus 4 equal to 0. So therefore, we're saying that this bracket could be equal to 0. If that's so, then by simplifying, we get that x would be minus 3. And it could also be the second bracket that's equal to 0. So by adding 4, we will now have that x is equal to positive 4. So the two solutions are x equal minus 3 and x equal to positive 4. We go on to the one where we have coefficient greater than 1. So we're going to write down what is a, what is b, what is c. So we've got a to be 2. So we're going to do a times by c. So that's 2 times by c, which is minus 15. So we've got minus 30. I need two factors of minus 30 that will add to positive 7. So basically, two factors of 30, that is 7 apart, and that's 10 and 3. Now we want the 7 in the middle, so when we add these two numbers we should get 7, and when we multiply them we should get minus 30. Therefore it is the 3 that has to be negative. So let's check. When we do 10 times minus 3, we get minus 30, but when we add them, we get positive 7. So what we're going to do is to rewrite the b term with these two factors. So I'm going to do 2y squared plus, it's better to put 10 beside 2 so it can be factorized. So we get 10y minus 3y minus 15. So I'm going to factorize these two together. So 2y squared plus 10y. Highest common factor of 2 and 10 is 2. Highest common factor of y squared and y is y. So that's outside the bracket. What multiplied by 2y gives us 2y squared, that's y. And what multiplied by 2y gives us 10, that is positive 5. We know the other bracket will also be the same for the other side. So therefore, what multiplied by y gives me minus 3y, that's minus 3. So let's check now. Minus 3 times y gives us minus 3y, and minus 3 times 5 gives us minus 15. So we now collect the ones on the outside into one bracket pair, and one of the common one will be our second pair. So our answer then is 2y minus 3 and y add 3. Beautiful. So we carry on. So here we're moving on to cumulative frequency. So for our cumulative frequency, we know that we need to find the cumulative frequency by starting with the first value. Now remember, when we're going to plot our graph, we have to take the upper bounds. So I'm just going to write, so this section is what we want, the upper bound here. So I'm just going to circle them in the interest of time. So these are the values we are going to be plotting against the cumulative frequency. So in this column is the value that I will write. So we need the value x is 10. So I'm just going to write the rest in this form. So 30, 40, 50, and 60. So we're going to start with our cumulative frequency by doing 35. Now 35 at 20, so we're adding them along, is 55. 55 at 13 is 68. 68 at 12 is 80. 80 at 14 is 94. And then 94 at 6 is 100. We're told the information is about the price of 100 items in a shop. So when we add them all up, the answer should be 100. We're asked here to draw the cumulative frequency graph. So we know we need to plot the upper bound against the cumulative frequency. So we're going to do 10 to 35. So we observe our scale first of all. We can see that we're going up in 10. So if we have 5 spaces in between, then 10 divided by 5, it means that each tiny square is worth 2. So 35 is halfway. So we're going to 10 and 35. I've just pre-put that plotted in. So that's where our 10 to 35 would be. We then need to do 20 to 55. So we go 20 halfway in this boundary. So 10 to 55. We then need to do 30. And we're plotting 30 against 68. So 30 is this line. 68 is 1 down from 70. Then we need to do 40 against 80. That one is dead on. So 40 against 80, followed by 50 against 94. So 94 will be 2 squares up from 90. So we plot that in. And then 60 to 100 is dead on. So that's there. Now, once we've done that, we need to take our pencil and make a smooth curve connecting all the points. So when we do that, so that is our graph being done. Now, what we're going to do now is to answer 2 questions from this graph that we could be asked. So we go to the next page to see that. Now, we're asked here to use the graph to estimate the median price of the items. Now remember, median is half of our value. So we've got 100 items. We need to do 100 divided by 2 is 50. Remember, the answer isn't 50, it is the 50th value. So I need to go to my graph, identify 50. I'm going to now draw a line across to touch the curve, and then I'm going to draw a line down and then read my value off. So if I look here, this is 10, 15, and then 16, 17. So this is 17 pounds and 50. So make sure you read that properly. This question is usually marked based on the graph you have drawn. So make sure you put the lines across and show your examiner what you are doing, and we will look at what you've read from your graph. The last question says, use your graph to estimate the interquartile range of the prices of 100 items. Remember, your interquartile range is equal to your upper quartile take away the lower quartile. So we need to work out our lower quartile and our upper quartile, find them on the graph, read them off like we did the median, and then subtract them. So we go for 100 to get the lower quartile. So LQ is equal to 100 divided by 4. So that is the 25th value. So we're going to go to our graph and we're going to find 25, which is along here halfway. So, and then I'm going to draw my line down and see where that touches. So here, if I look, this is 5, 6, and 7. So the lower quartile is equal to 7 pounds. So I need to now multiply my lower quartile times 3 because the upper quartile is 3/4 of the data. So if I found a quarter, which is 25, then for the upper quartile, I need to do 25 times by 3, which is 75. So that's a 75th value. So I go to my graph and I'm going to find 75 halfway between 80 and 70. Draw a line across. Then I'm going to draw a line down to read that off. I can see here 30, 35, 1 away, that will be 36. So now I need to do upper quartile, which is 36, take away the lower quartile, which is 7. So I now need to just do my subtraction. So 36 take away 7. So I'm just going to do that quickly so I don't make a mistake here. When you're doing on your non-calculator paper, don't just think it in your head, make sure that you ink it. So I'm doing 16 take away 7, so 7, so that's 9, and then this is 29. So the answer is 29 pounds. Beautiful. Make sure that you check. Notice I'm using my column method because I know under pressure you can make simple mental calculations. Okay, so that's our question on cumulative frequency. Now we are going to look at our inequalities. And also I do have a lesson on inequality on the number line and also on the graph. Again, make sure that you review those two. Very, very important. So we're asked here to solve 3x plus 4 is less than 10. We solve our inequality just the same way we would have solved our equality, except that we make sure we keep our sign. So I've got 3x add 4 is less than 10. We must subtract 4 from both sides. So we have 3x is less than 6, and then dividing by 3, we get that x is less than 2. Check that off. Then we're asked to represent this answer on the number line below. Now remember, on our number line, if we do not have a line under, which means the value is included, we use an unshaded circle. So we're going to go to 2, write an unshaded circle. Now if 2x is less than 2, it means that all the values to the left of the number line will be where x is less than 2. So that would be what our inequality on the number line would look like. Now we go to another one where we have 2 steps involved. So we're told here that 2x minus 1 is less than, or it is exactly equal to minus 3. So we need to solve this and then put our solution also on the number line. So we start by adding 1 to both sides, doing the inverse. So we have 2x is less than or equal to minus 2 plus 1, minus 3 plus 1 is minus 2. So we now need to divide by 2 on both sides. We get that x is less than or exactly equal to minus 1. So this means that minus 1 is also a part of the solution. So I draw my circle, but I must shade it in. A shaded circle tells me that this value is also a part of the solution, and x is less than that, so we are going to the left. You draw your line with your ruler and your pencil, and there you have it for inequalities. Beautiful. Now we go to our ratios. We're told here that e to f is equal to 2 to 3 and f to g is equal to 5 to 4. We're asked to work out e to g. Now we can see here we're asked also to give our answer in the simplest form. Now if you notice here, there are 2 times where the ratio f is considered. So let's rewrite it. E to f is 2 to 3 and f to g is 5 to 4. Now we've got 2 f's and they are not the same. So what we have to do is to make our f the same by finding the lowest common multiple. So the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15. So I need to multiply this by 5 to get up to 15. So all of this ratio will be multiplied by 5 and all of this side times by 3 to equalize them. So we go 5 times 2 is 10 and 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15 and 4 times 3 is 12. So now we're going to write the new ratio. So e to f to g. So e is now 10, f is now 15 and g is now 12. And we're asked to get e to g. So e to g is 10 to 12. So e is 10, g is 12, but in its simplest form. So we need to divide each of them by 2. So this is 5 to 12 divided by 2 is 6. So the final answer is 5 to 6. Absolutely brilliant. Well done. Now our next question is on probability and Venn diagrams. So we're told here that a school has 78 students. So we underline that. 28 wear glasses. A quarter of the students who wear glasses are left-handed. 30% of the students who do not wear glasses are left-handed. So we're given the universal set here. Students in the school year, we've got glasses and we've got left-handed. Clearly, as we can see on the diagram, there is also an intersection. So some students who wear glasses are left-handed. We're asked to complete the Venn diagram. So we're going to go back to the question and now we're going to break it down. So 78 students, 28 wear glasses. So I'm just going to put here that the number of students who wear glasses is equal to 28. Now, a quarter of those students who wear glasses are left-handed. So let's find out a quarter of, so 28 divided by 4 is equal to 7. So therefore, we can go ahead and put our 7 in the intersection because those students wear glasses that are left-handed. Now, we can also go ahead and fill in glasses only because we know the total in this circle for G altogether should be equal to 28. So 28 take away 7 is equal to 21. So we put that here. So let's just tick off what we've done already. We've done this bit here. Beautiful. Now, the next part of our information says that 30% of the students who do not wear glasses are left-handed. Therefore, I need to find out the students who do not wear glasses. So to do that, so I'm just going to write no glasses. The total students is 78, and those students who wear glasses are 28. So if we subtract 28 from 78, the result will be those who do not wear glasses. Now it is 30% of that amount that is left-handed. So we need to find 10% first. So 10% of 50 is equal to 5. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. That's how we get our 10%. So we can find 30% by doing 5 times by 3, since there are 3 lots of 10 to make 30, which is equal to 15. So that goes into the side for left-handed. Beautiful. So what we need to do now is to find the part on the outside, which is the complement of glasses union with left-handed. So we know the total students is 78. So we can find out the remainder by adding what we've got already on the Venn diagram and subtract that from 78. So let's go. So we do 78, take away the sum of 21 and 7. So 21, we could just write 28 because we know all of this in this circle is 28. Add that to 15 and then we subtract. So let's just use the column method quickly. So it's a calculator paper, don't just think it in your head. So we've got 8 plus 5 is 13. So we get 2 plus 2 is 4, so that's 43. So we're going to do 78, take away 43. Again, use your column method. Take away 43, I get 5, and then I get 3. So the answer for the outside is 35. So I've now completed my Venn diagram, and that is for 3 marks. So we go on to the part B. A left-handed student is chosen at random. So we underline that. Left-handed student is chosen at random. Work out the probability that the student wears glasses. So first of all, we need to get the total for the left-handed students. So left-handed students is all that's in the circle L, which is 7 plus 15. So 15 at 7 is 22. So the total of the left-handed student is 72, but it says that work out the probability that that student wears glasses. So this is conditional probability. So glasses for the left-handed student is 7 out of the total. So that's 7 out of 22. Cannot be simplified any further. So we have to keep that for our answer. Beautiful. Now, before we go on, have you yet liked the video, guys? Remember, liking this video helps the algorithm to share the channel with other people. So please help to grow this channel by just simply clicking that like button. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, on we go to our next question. So for the next question, it says, show clearly that root 3 plus 2 squared plus 5 minus 2 root 3 squared minus 8 minus 3 root 2 squared is equal to an integer for 5 marks. Now guys, remember, we talk about an integer, we're speaking about positive and negative whole numbers, which includes 0. So it's all the numbers you see on your number line. So what we're going to do, we're going to focus on each section at a time and then bring them back together. So we know when we expand this, we expect to get a number. So let's go. So the first one we have, we're going to do root 3 plus 2. And that's been squared, so we just need to write that twice and expand. So root 3 times root 3 is root 9, but the square root of 9 is 3. So we can just go straight ahead and say root 3 times root 3 is 3. We now need to do root 3 times 2, which is 2 root 3. We then take 2 times root 3, which is also 2 root 3. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Let's just simplify that bit. So 3 plus 4 is 7. And then 2 root 2 times 2 root 2 is 2 root 3 times 2 root 3 is 4 root 3. So that part is simplified. We're going to now do the second bracket. So we've got 5 minus 2 root 3. And we need to do another of that bracket. So 5 minus 2 root 3. So we go 5 times 5 gives us 25. 5 times minus 2 root 3 is minus 10 root 3. And then we need to do minus 2 root 3 times 5, which gives us same answer. So minus 10 root 3. And then minus 2 root 3 times minus 2, so 2 negatives will give us a positive, so we have to multiply the coefficients together, so 2 times 2 is 4, and then root 3 times root 3 is 3, so we're in essence multiplying 4 by 3, so that's 12. So we get 25. We can just simplify the middle, so minus 10 root 3 and minus 10 root 3 is minus 20 root 3. Plus the 12 at the end. Simplifying this now, we get 37. So 25 plus 12, that's 37 minus 20 root 3. So we've done these two, so let's just check them off. Now we need to do the other bracket, but we need to remember that there is a subtraction on the outside. So when we're finished expanding the double bracket, we need to now multiply it by minus on the outside, which indicates minus 1. So let's write our two bracket. We've got 8 minus root 3, and we're doing that again, 8 minus root 3. So 8 times 8 gives me 64. 8 times minus root 3 is minus 8 root 3. Minus root 3 times 8, same answer, minus 8 root 3. And then negative times negative here will give us a positive. So root 3 times root 3 is root 9, and the root of 9 is 3. So we write that down. Square root 9 is 3. If you want to, you could just put your square root 9 there and then show that it simplifies to 3. Now we need to simplify this. So 64 plus 3 is 67. Minus 8, and minus 8 is minus 16. So this is minus 16. Common root is root 3. Now that we've done that, remember, we now have our minus on the outside. If you know you'll forget, put the minus on the outside from now. Before you start expanding. So now we go minus times 64 is minus 64. Negative times negative here will give us positive 16 root 3. Now that we've got that all together, we just need to bring all three parts and simplify. So I've got 7 plus 4 root 3 plus 37. So that's this part. Let's just tick it off as we go. Plus 37 minus 20 root 3. And then we've got minus 67 plus 16 root 3. All we need to do now is just simplify. So I'm going to take my numbers first. So I've got 7 here. And then I've got 37. And I've got minus 67. So 7 plus 37, that is 44. So 44 minus 67, let's put that together. And then we've got 4 root 3 and minus 20 root 3. and also 16 root 3 here. So we're going to simplify this bit. If we simplify 4 root 3 minus 20 root 3, we get minus 16 root 3. And here we've got another minus positive 16 root 3. We can see here that these two bits cancel out because one is positive and also one is negative, so that cancels out to 0. So we just need to simplify the last bit here, and then we would have gotten our integer. So 44 minus 67, if we do 67, take away 44, we know that the answer is going to be negative, so you just put that as a negative. So this will be minus 23. And that's our answer. We can see that it is an integer. Remember, integers are also negative numbers as well. So what you have to do, break each part down, then bring it back all together, making sure you haven't forgotten something that you need to bring together. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question. So we've got 21 root 3 plus 12 divided by 48, and we're asked to show that this can be written in the form k root 3, where k is an integer. So therefore, I need to do, first of all, we're going to rationalize. So we have root 3 here. We need to multiply both numerator and denominator by root 3. So 21 times root 3 is 21 root 3. And root 3 times root 3 is root 9, which is just 3. Remember, square root of 9 is 3. So when you are multiplying two roots that are the same, then the answer is just a number without the root. So we've simplified that part. We now need to simplify the other part, which is 12 root 48. Now, root 48 can be written as a square number times by another number. The highest square number that goes into 48 is 16. So we can have 12 over root 16 times by root 3. Root 16 is equal to 4. So this is 4 root 3. Now we need to rationalize. So we need to times by root 3 times by root 3. So 12 times root 3 is 12 root 3. And then root 3 times root 3 is 3. 3 times the 4. So these two times together will give us 3. 3 times 4 is 12. So bringing it back together now that we've rationalized everything is going to be 21 root 3 over 3. That's this one that we done before. And then this answer, we're adding them. So plus 12 root 3 over 12. Now, common denominator we need, so lowest common multiple is 12, so we need to times this by 4 and times this by 4 as well. So 21 times 4, that is equal to 84, so that's 84 root 3 over 12. So therefore, they are now the same denominator. We can now add them together. So we need to now add 84 plus 12. So we get 96 root 3 over 12. This can be simplified because 96 divided by 12 is 8. 12 8's 96 and root 3. So now we can see that k is equal to 8. You can even write that and show your examiner that you know that k is equal to 8. Let me just write my 8. So k is equal to 8. Beautiful. I'm so happy that you've made it this far in the video. Thank you so much for staying with me. Liking this video will help this channel to grow. So please go ahead and give this video a like. So in this question, we're asked to solve algebraically the simultaneous equations y equal x squared plus 5x minus 8 and y minus 4x is equal to 4. Now, if we notice here, one of our equation is a quadratic while the other is a linear. Now, when we've got this situation, we've got to use the substitution method, not the elimination method. We have to use the substitution method. So the first thing that we need to do is to rewrite the linear equation, making y the subject. So I've got y minus 4x equal to 4. To make y the subject, I need to do the opposite of minus 4x. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. Therefore, I will now have, this cancels out, so y equal to 4x add 4. If you said 4 add 4x, it's the same thing, but we always put our gradient first. So now that we've rearranged this to make y the subject, I'm now going to replace the y in the first equation with the value of y. So this value of y, I'm going to substitute that in. So I've got y here. So I'm going to replace this y with this value of y, just to keep the square on the left hand side. So I'm going to write for this y, x squared plus 5x minus 8 equal to 4x add 4. So I've replaced this y with this value of y. Now we know a simultaneous equation should always be equal to 0. So I'm going to bring everything on the right hand side to the left hand side, and now I will now have made it 0. So x squared plus 5x minus, I'm bringing this minus 4, so minus 4, so this positive becomes a negative on that side, minus 8, this minus 4 becomes, this positive 4 becomes minus 4 equal to 0. So let's look and check that we've done it correctly. So we've got x squared and 5x squared. We're doing this positive, taking it to the other side, so that's going to be minus 4x. We've got minus 8, and this positive 4 will now be a minus 4 equal to 0. So let's simplify. So x squared, 5x take away 4x is just x. And then minus 8 minus 4 is minus 12, and that's equal to 0. Now we can see here we've got a quadratic with coefficient 1. So therefore we need two factors of minus 12 that will add to 1. Remember, the coefficient here is 1. So which means that we need two factors of 12 that are 1 apart. So that's 3 and 4. Now we need to check which one should be positive. So if we want to have a positive 1 when we add them, it's the 3 that has to be minus. So let's check. Minus 3 plus 4 is equal to positive 1 for the b term, but when we multiply them together, we get minus 12. So our two brackets then will be x minus 3, and the other bracket will be x plus 4, and that's equal to 0. We know when we've got our brackets in this form, one of them will be equal to 0, so x in this case will be the opposite of minus 3, which is positive 3, and for the other bracket, x will be the opposite of positive 4, which is minus 4. Those are our two values of x. However, we've got to remember that we also need to solve for y, and if we have two values of x, we also have two values of y. So we're going to find y by substituting into the linear equation, this one that we had rearranged. That's the easiest way to do it. So y is equal to 4x add 4. So I'm going to use x for 3 for the first one. So I'm going to substitute 4 times by x, which is now 3. This 3 here plus 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. And 12 plus 4 is 16. So therefore, when x is equal to 3, the corresponding y value will be 16. So that's one pair of solution. Now I'm going to substitute x for minus 4 this time. So that value, so 4 times by minus 4 plus 4. 4 times minus 4 is minus 16. And minus 16 plus 4, so y will be equal to minus 12. So therefore, when x is equal to minus 4, the corresponding y value will now be minus 12. Beautiful. So therefore, remember, two solutions, two pairs of x, two pairs of y. All right, we move on to our next question, which is on functions. So we're told here that f of x is equal to x squared plus 6x minus 40, and g of x is equal to 1 divided by x minus 4. We're asked to work out the value of f of 2. What this means is that wherever x is in the function f, we should replace it with 2. So let's go ahead and write what is f of x. So f of x is equal to x squared plus 6x minus 40. F of 2 then will be equal to, so wherever x is, we're going to replace them with that value of 2. So we're going to have 2 squared plus 6 times by f of x again, which is 2. So 2 is going to be here, minus 40. Then we simply need to calculate. So 2 squared is 4 plus 6 times 2 is 12 minus 40. So 6. So 12 plus 4, I don't know where I got 6 from, but 4 plus 12, that is equal to 16. Maybe that's where. And then I need to do 16 take away 40. So I can do 40 take away 16 to get my answer. Then I know it's going to be negative. So 16 take away 40, that is equal to 24. So that's going to be minus 24. So I check my answer off for that one. Nice and simple calculation there. So we finished this question. We now need to do g of 7. So we need to put 7 where x is in g. So g of x is equal to 1 and x over minus 4. So g of 7 then is equal to 1 over, we're going to replace x for 7. So it's going to be 7 minus 4. So it's going to be 1 over 7 take away 4 is 3. So the answer is 1/3. Moving along to our next question. So for our next question, we're told f of x is equal to 3x plus 4, g of x is equal to x plus 10, h of x is equal to x squared. So we're asked here to work out, so I haven't put one for h of x, I'll just do 2 questions and you'll get the basic idea here. So we're asked to work out f of g of x. If you notice here, we do not have any numbers. This is composite functions. We're asked to give our answer in the form ax plus b, where a and b are integers. So what this means is that we are going to put all of the function g into the function f. So let's start by writing what is f of x. So f of x is equal to 3x plus 4. So now f of g of x means that wherever x is in f, we are going to replace it with this value of g of x. So 3 then times by the value of x now will be all of g, which is x plus 10, and then we put back our plus 4. So 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 10 is 30, and we now need to add that with the 4. Simplified answer is 3x plus 34. Not as difficult as you thought. Beautiful. Now we're going to do the next question. We're doing the opposite now, which asks us to work out the value of g of f of x. Give your answer in the form ax plus b, where a and b are integers. So this time we're going to start, we always put the last one into the first. So we're going to write what is g of x. G of x is equal to x add 10. We can see that here. So where x is in this one, we're going to replace all of f in that function. So f g of f of x will then be equal to, so I'm going to put the value of f of x here. The value of f of x is 3x plus 4. So I'm replacing this x with 3x add 4. And then I also had a plus 10. So 3x is equal to, so 3x plus 4 plus 10 is 14. So that's our answer there. Beautiful. So moving along, we're going to now look at this question where we are converting recurring decimal to a fraction in its simplest form. So we first of all, because we do not know, we're asked to convert 0.71, both of the numbers recur, to a fraction in its simplest form. Now, because we do not know what the fraction is, we use a variable to represent the fraction. So let the fraction be equal to x. So x then is equal to, I'm going to write this out, 0.717171, write that a few times. Now I need to make some scale factors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply this by 10 first of all. So if I times this by 10, I will also need to times this one by 10. So this will now give me 10x equal to, multiplying by 10, I will now get 7.17171. I'm going to now make a multiplication by 100. So if I times x by 100, I will get 100x. So times by 100. I also need to multiply this side by 100 as well. So doing that, I move 2 spaces, I will get 71.7171 and so forth. Now what I need to do is to look at the two that when I have line up my decimal, I can subtract those and those will eliminate to 0. So if I look here, I've got for 100 x 71.7. So that means I could just go ahead and use the second one here and also the first one, because the 7 and the 1s are lined up after. So I'm just going to rewrite the x value here. So you can do a few and then pick the ones where when you line up the decimals, on the right side, they are all the same digits. So when you subtract them, the answer will be 0 for that section. So I can see if I put 0.7171, all of these line up now. So if I subtract them, this part of it will cancel out to 0. So if I do 100x, take away x, that will leave me with 99x, and that's equal to, all of this bit cancels out, 0 take away that will be just 71. Now to make x the subject, I get divide by 99. This cancels out, leaving me with x equal to 71 divided by 99 cannot be simplified any further. So as a fraction in its simplest form, the answer is 71/99. Beautiful. So just make sure you make scale factors, look for the two. When you line them up, you can subtract and get a whole number. And my whole number here is 71. Then I divide by the coefficient of x. And now I can see that I've gotten a fraction. And also it's in its simplest form. Absolutely brilliant. So in this question, we're told that OACB is a parallelogram. OA is equal to A, and OB is equal to B. Write the following vectors in terms of A and B. Very important information here is that we've got a parallelogram. So the first thing that we're supposed to be thinking here is that the opposite side will also be equal. So let's just put that on our diagram first of all. If this side is B, the other side is also B. And if this side is A, the other side is also A, very importantly. Now, remember, as it relates to vectors, we always go in the direction of the arrow. So the first question asks us to write down the vector OA. It means AO. It means that we're going from A to O. We can see here, if we're leaving from A to O, we're going against the arrow. So if OA is A, then AO is going to be minus A. So 1 mark. The next question asks us to write down the vector BC. So we're going from B to C. And we can see that that is in the direction of the arrow. So that is just going to be A. The next question asks them to write down AB. So we're going from A to B. So we're going from here to here, so we have to do that in 2 steps. So AB will be equal to the vector AO, so we have to go from A to O and then from O to B. So plus OB. So we're going to write down AO is equal to minus A and OB is equal to B, because the arrow is going in the right direction there, so in the positive direction, so B. So the answer is minus A plus B, which we can just tidy off as B minus A. No harm done if you said minus A plus B, but I like to write it in a tidy way where my positive comes first. Same principle if you wrote either one. Next question asks us to write down what is CO. So we're going from C to O. So to go from C to O, we must go from C to B first. So we need to go to C to B plus, then we need to go from B to O. B to O. So let's write down what is C to B. So C to B, again, we're going against the arrow. So that's going to be minus A. So this is from B to O. We're going against the arrow again. So that's going to be minus B. So the answer is minus A minus B. And that's simple. So remember, follow the direction of the arrow. It's just like planning a route. You're going out, use your Google Maps. You might have to go from one destination to the other and then take something else to where your final destination is. So now we're looking at it from the graph. Shown below are vectors B and C. And we look on our graph there, we can see them. We're asked to write down the column vector that represents B. So remember, we always go in the direction of the arrow. So I'm going from the bottom here all the way to the top. I just need to see what movement I have to take in terms of X and Y. So I'm going to go 1, 2 across, that's positive direction. So X is going to be positive 2. So let's do that again. 1, 2 across, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. So therefore, that answer is 2, 6. So write down the column vector that represents C. So I'm going to go in the direction of the arrow. So I have to start here and end here. So this time I'm going to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's minus 5. So let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus 5, and 1 up, which is a positive direction. So that's minus 5 and 1. Now we go for our next question. So the next question asks us, we're told A is equal to 2, 1 and B is equal to 1 minus 5. We're asked to work out A at B. So A plus B is equal to 2, 1 plus 1 minus 5. So 2 plus 1 is 3 and 1 plus minus 5 is minus 4. So the answer then is 3 minus 4. Beautiful. Put that back in our bracket there. Next question asks us to work out A minus B for A, which is equal to minus 7 minus 4, and B is equal to minus 6, 10. So we're doing minus 7, 4, and we need to take away minus 6, 10. So remember, I'm just going to put them in one bracket so you can see the operation that's going on. So I need to do 7 minus 7, take away, but I'm subtracting a negative. And then it will be 4, take away 10. Remember, 2 negatives will give me a positive. So basically, I'm doing minus 7 add 6. And minus 7 add 6 is equal to minus 1. And then 4 take away 10 is minus 6. So the answer is minus 1 minus 6. That's our final answer. Beautiful. So we move on to our next question. The next question is A 2, 0 and B 1, 5. We need to work out 4A plus 2B. So we need to do 4 times by A, which is 2, 0, plus 2 times by B, which is 1, 5. So we get 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 0 is 0. Then we need to do 2 times 1, which is 2. and 2 times 5, which is 10. Add them together, we get 8 plus 2 is equal to 10, and 0 plus 10 is also 10. So the vector is 10, 10. Amazing. Moving along, we're asked here, we're told that the equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared equals 16. We're asked to write down the radius of the circle. Now remember, the equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared equal to the radius squared. So what we need to do to get the radius is to do the square root of 16, which is equal to plus or minus 4, but as it relates to length, it's just going to be positive 4. Same principle apply for the next one. We are told to do the same thing, but this time we are given equal to 100. So again, r is going to be equal to the square root of 100. So r is equal to 10. So that will be the value for our radius. Very simple two markers there. Now we are asked to do this question. We're told that P24 is a point on the circle with center O. So let's just put that here, 2 to 4. So we're asked to work out the equation of the tangent to the circle at P and give your answer in the form y equal mx plus c. So in order for us to find the equation of the tangent, we will first of all have to find the gradient of the radius. So gradient m of the radius, gradient is equal to y over x. So this is x and this is y. So we need to do 4 divided by 2. So the gradient of the radius is equal to 2. Now the gradient of the tangent will be the negative reciprocal of that, because as you can see, they meet at a right angle, which means they are perpendicular. So if two gradients are perpendicular, they are the negative reciprocal of each other. So the gradient of tangent is equal to negative 1/2. That's a negative reciprocal. When you times these two together, you will get minus 1. So what we know, we're going to write down what we know about the equation of the tangent so far. So far we know y is equal to, remember, it's always in the form y equal mx plus c. So the gradient is negative 1/2 x plus c. The only thing we need now is the y-intercept. We can get that by substituting the values of x and y from the point P, since it's also a point on the tangent. So y is 4, so substitute y for 4, equal to 1/2 times by x, and x is 2, plus c. So negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 divided by 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So this is 4 equal to negative 1 plus c. We now need to put our minus 1 there. So 4 plus 1 is equal to 5, and 5 is equal to c. So therefore, we have everything we need now. The equation will be y equal to, the gradient is negative 1/2. We know we must put our x, plus our y-intercept, which we found to be 5. Absolutely fantastic. So it's y equal negative 1/2 x add 5. Now guys, I have a full lesson on equation of circles on the channel. There are a variety of ways this question could come. You need to make sure that you watch that lesson, where I've done multiple different styles of questions. And also another topic that you need to make sure that you revise as well is circle theorems. I haven't included it in this revision because I have 3 lessons on circle theorems. You need to make sure that you watch those 3 lessons, particularly the ones that will ask you to prove. So I've done all of the theorems and also some proofs as well. Make sure that you visit that. The truth is, if you watch this walkthrough and you watch the videos that are already on the channel, you will be giving yourself a good advantage in that examination. Beautiful. So we have now come to the end of this walkthrough, and I'm so proud of you for staying the course. Massive, 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 massive congratulations to you on that, for investing in yourself. Now, just want to remind you that we are on TikTok, where we do extra exam questions. You can do that, revise that on the go. When you're on the bus, just take a question and just keep working through. Also, please make sure that you share this, not with only your friends at your school, but if you have a friend in another school who is in year 10, please make sure that you share and like the video, and also make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell, press all so you see when I've uploaded another video. I wish you all the very best in your paper 1. Thank you so much for watching.